Hello, lovely people. That is my first ever walk cycle. I know my YouTube channel literally has anime in the name, but walk cycles have been my kryptonite for so long. But I'm taking an animation class, and the first two assignments were walk cycles. So, here's the deal. First, I had to decide which of my characters I wanted to use for a walk cycle. I narrowed it down to 3 characters that had distinct human-shaped bodies, and that are tall enough to let me learn how to properly animate legs and arms. I created a profile drawing of their bodies and a 3/4 face angle to establish a little more character for them. They essentially went from most complicated to least complicated, but I ultimately chose Dreadnax because his kind of rough demeanor made for a less expressive animation. Obviously, in animation you'll want to exaggerate to the best of your ability to give a character as much life as possible, but I wanted to challenge myself in other departments since I think I do a pretty good job at expressiveness with other stuff. Dreadnax was especially interesting here because I actually have other shapes and sizes for him that I prefer, but I kind of followed an earlier structure for him because it made the walk cycle easier for me to practice, especially with a profile angle. If I had done a new design, it probably would have looked a little more something like this, and I'll probably go back and update it, but not only did I like this drawing of him, I also had a deadline for the project, so I couldn't really experiment too much. On to the roughs. This was the first finished animation I had of him. His body was animated in 4s, and his cape was animated in 6s. I basically built the animation from his legs to his body, then to his head, then the cape was added last. And as stiff as his body looks, I really just wanted to make it look like it flowed. I was especially surprised with how good I made the cape move, like it worked out pretty well. After that I colored it and made a background because the project required it, but that was only like the first half of it. From there I had to find a way to incorporate parallax into the project. Before I move on, something interesting about the coloring is that Dreadnax was actually green in earlier drawings. But the green didn't really fit with the red, and like, red is my favorite color, so I wanted to keep that in. Then my friend Marin was like, what if you made it purple? And I was like, nah, that's stupid. And then my friend Nick was watching me animate and was like, what if you made him purple? So he's purple now. Here's the other version of him with that coloring. Fancy. First of all, the biggest thing bothering me was the frame rate. I think it works, but I knew I could make it a little more smooth, so I updated the body to be animated in 2s instead of 4s, making it essentially 15 frames per second. I decided not to bump it up to 30 FPS since it would take a while, but also I've just been generally teaching myself how to animate in lower frame rates while still managing to make it look smooth. After fixing up the animation myself, I created the background, which was for some reason hell on earth for me. I made a special dimension size for it on Photoshop, but didn't really realize how much I was allowed to fit in the Animate program, so I just did a lot of trial and error for what I could and couldn't do. Big inspiration from the Death Star in this one. As for extra details, I just made sure to add to the vibe of the background. These little Hydra guys were added for parallax, but also I purposely made them smaller and like have less impressive clothes just to separate them from Dreadnax visually. Bonus, the background ones have eyes that followed Dreadnax. Whoa. There's also a ship that appears briefly. And honestly, each version from there is just fixing small details here and there. If you like this, maybe I'll do more. I don't know. Bye.